story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the court.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped by 50%.
What was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's coronation week in Indianapolis has turned into a nightmare scenario for the WNBA. The city put up a massive 34-story ad of Clark on the JW Marriott, expecting record crowds and massive revenue. Instead, they got empty seats and angry fans boycotting the All-Star game. The question everyone's asking: how did the league manage to turn their biggest star's hometown celebration into a financial disaster? And what did Cathy Engelbert finally say about the officiating crisis during All-Star weekend? The answer reveals everything wrong with how the WNBA treats the players who actually bring in fans. Let us know down in the comments below if you think the WNBA will ever learn its lesson. Let's go.
When you come to Indianapolis, look, this is what everybody's been talking about. This right here, Caitlin Clark, the banner right there on the JW Marriott. It is 34 stories banner, unbelievable. Is the largest banner ever on the JW Marriott. You may think about the bracket. Remember back in the NCAA tournament back in 2021? Yeah, it's bigger than that as well. 113,000 square feet. It is unbelievable. And you see what it says, from downtown in my town. No doubt, this is something that is grabbing everyone's attention. And who else better to be on that than the star herself, Caitlin Clark?
Indianapolis spent months preparing for what they thought would be the biggest WNBA weekend in history. The city put up a replica All-Star basketball court at the airport. Local businesses stocked up on inventory and hired extra staff. Gainbridge Fieldhouse had sold out within hours when tickets first went on sale. The get-in price hit $121, with average resale tickets going for $262, and the best seats going for thousands, the highest in WNBA All-Star Game history, according to TickPick.
Really unfortunate that Caitlin Clark missed it. The crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far as the WNBA is concerned.
Then July 17th happened. Clark's groin injury announcement hit social media, and everything changed in real time. You could literally watch the ticket market collapse hour by hour. Those $262 average prices? They crashed to $64 within hours of the news breaking. That's a 75% drop in value. And sellers were panicking. The resale market went into complete freefall. People who had bought tickets as investments were suddenly trying to offload them at massive losses. The get-in price dropped
from $121 all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She's injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for 80? Okay, I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy it to 70? I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends, and they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth to this league.
You know what makes this even more brutal? This pattern had happened before, but never at this scale. When Clark missed regular season games with her quad strain in May, road game prices dropped significantly. The Washington game saw a 47% price drop, and that high-demand Chicago game? Prices fell 71%. But those were regular season games. This was the All-Star game in her hometown, and the crash was unprecedented.
The ticket prices, the demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
Gainbridge Fieldhouse was about to face its first non-sellout of the entire season. Think about that. A building that had been packed for almost 2 years for every single Fever game was now looking at empty seats for the biggest basketball weekend Indianapolis had hosted since the NBA All-Star Game. The math was brutal for everyone involved. Vendors who had invested thousands in All-Star Weekend merchandise were staring at massive losses. Restaurants and hotels that had been expecting record crowds were suddenly looking at cancellations. The economic ripple effect spread through downtown Indianapolis as the reality set in.
But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy.
This wasn't just about one player missing one game. Fans were sending the clearest possible message about who actually drives interest in the WNBA. When other star players get injured, ticket prices don't crater like this. The market was basically saying that without Clark, the All-Star Game wasn't worth attending. The crash exposed something the league desperately didn't want to admit. Their entire record-breaking season was built around one player. Without her, all those attendance records and revenue milestones suddenly looked a lot less impressive.
This year, for the second time ever, the WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to feature an actual star. Normally, this celebration of pretend basketball features players that no one's ever heard of.
Clark's groin injury didn't just happen out of nowhere. This was the inevitable result of months of escalating physical play that referees consistently refused to call. Opposing players figured out they could grab, shove, and hammer Clark without consequences, and the refs just kept swallowing their whistles.
How did we get to an All-Star Game in Indiana where Caitlin Clark is not healthy enough to play? Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on.
Stephanie White saw this coming from miles away. The Fever coach has been calling out the double standard in officiating all season, saying there's a level of physicality that they are able to play with against her that other players don't face. White wasn't being dramatic. She was watching her star player get beaten up game after game while referees looked the other way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. We've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
Let's be real about what was happening on the court. The Washington Post called out the chronically lousy, second-rate officiating that was turning games into ugly physical contests. They literally suggested the league should change its logo to a bruise and its motto to no call. That's not hyperbole, that's what fans were watching every single night. You want specific examples? Teams were hooking and hammering Clark with 0 calls. Video after video showed defenders grabbing her arms, shoving her off screens, and fouling her on drives without any whistles. The refs just watched it happen. This created a culture where targeting Clark became a legitimate strategy for opposing teams.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call absolutely nothing.
Here's what makes this even worse. Other star players in sports history got protection from officials. The league's biggest draws don't usually get treated like practice dummies. But Clark? She was getting crushed while refs acted like they forgot their job description. The numbers tell the story of a league that's failing to protect its players. There have been 57 head and neck injuries in the past 2.5 seasons. Guards and small forwards are getting particularly crushed, according to the same Washington Post analysis. This isn't normal wear and tear. This is a pattern of dangerous play being allowed to continue. Lisa Leslie knows exactly what Clark is facing with this groin injury. The WNBA legend dealt with her own groin injury in 2006 and warned that these injuries can linger for months or even years. That's the reality Clark now faces because referees refuse to do their jobs. This wasn't bad luck or just part of basketball. This was the predictable outcome of a league that refuses to protect its most valuable asset. Every uncalled grab, every ignored shove, every foul that went without a whistle built up to this moment. The officiating crisis has now cost the WNBA millions in revenue and exposed their complete failure to manage the game. When your biggest star gets injured because you won't protect her, don't be surprised when fans stop showing up.